Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and it's book tag day. You can't see it, and I didn't take a picture before I started. I should have. I am surrounded by pulled books for not only this book tag, but the other book tags I am filming this morning. I have no duplicates on any of these tags. Be very surprised by that. I am probably surrounded by 60 or 70 pulled books just for book tags. So let's do this one. This is the book tower challenge. It's not really a tag. It's more of a challenge. But at the same time, it fits nicely into the tag category. So we are going to call it a tag for, classification purposes. So I try to get my feet out from under Kahlua. There are 20 steps in the challenge, and I am not even going to try and hold all of those books. Certainly not going to try and hold them in order because they are wildly different in size. They are wildly different in weight and volume. So it is going to be a thumbnail, as you've already seen, without any books in it. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. So I'm not going to talk probably about any book in great detail, but if something catches my attention, I'm going to talk about it. So don't be surprised if I talk about books. Trying not to make this, a 2-hour long tag challenge. I've also slightly changed the seating position today. Wanted to be comfortable. Plus, I just have so many books that I needed some more space. So let's kick things off. The first question in the challenge is the first book of the series. And for that, I chose The Relentless Moon by Mary Robinette Kowal. I have not read anything by her to completion. I have started one book by her. Was it this year? I believe it was this year. And that was The Spare Man. And I DNF'd it very quickly, even though I was invested in the science fiction, space opera mystery that was going on. The political correct nonsense was not working for me. However, I own this entire series. I am very, very interested in this series. The series is called the Lady Astronauts, and this is the first in the series. It's a trilogy, and wait. This says this is not the first book. This is not the first book. Oh, wait, I need to go get the first book. They're out of order. Okay, so they were actually sitting on my shelf, wickedly out of order. I'm usually better than that. So the first book is actually The Calculating Stars. And I've been interested in this series for a long time. When was this written? This was published in 2018. So based on my first attempt to read her, I'm hopeful and leery at the same time. I know this one, I know she's a darling of the Hugo Awards, which have lost some of their luster. But it's sci-fi, it's alternate world. I am very, very interested. So hopefully it lives up. Challenge number 2, second in a series. I chose something radically different than first in a series. And I chose The Valley of the Horses by Jean M. All. And of course, the bird is going to talk. I'll be right back. So, as I was saying before avian interruptions, Pickles is now outside hanging out with the chickens who I let out when I put Pickles outside. The second challenge is the second in a series. And I'm sure of this one because I checked when I picked it out of my books. That is Valley of the Horses by Jean M. All. This is the second book in the Earth's Children series. This is definitely up for next year. I am slowly picking these up from the library bookshop. I have books 2 and 3 on my shelves. I've already read book 1 way back in the day. So, yes, I'm very much looking forward to this one. Okay. 3. Blue on the cover. For this, I picked up a book that keeps catching my attention. That is American Beauty by Shanna Abbey. And this is a Gilded Age story in Richmond, Virginia. So, the very last sentence on the description on the back is, An American Beauty brings to vivid life the glitter and drama of a captivating chapter in history, and a remarkable woman who lived by her own rules. As you know, I just finished American Duchess, which was a buddy read with Lou. That was began in the Gilded Age, and there's a bunch of hummingbirds you can't see right outside my front window. So if I get distracted, it's going to be by the hummingbirds. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that one. This one is set in America. I am looking forward to it. Prompt number 4. A title that is 7 letters long. That, doesn't sound difficult, does it? You'd be surprised how difficult it was to find a 7-letter title on my shelves. I did, however. And I believe it is the only 7-letter title I own. And this is 100% thanks to Lou. Otherwise, I wouldn't own this. That is Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is the Ignatius Critical Edition. I am supposed to start this here shortly. So, 7 letters. Big old classic Tammy is unexpectedly reading, and I am not upset by that. Prompt number 5. I have never read it. So it's a book you've never read. It's a book I very much want to read. This is probably going to be read next year. It's been sitting on my shelves for a while. I need to convert this from sitting to read. That is Mary Called Magdalene by Margaret George. Margaret George is a very underrated historical fiction author. I think this is the 4th or 5th book by her on my shelves. I love her writing. I love that she writes in a variety of historical periods, and she writes great big giant tomes of very engaging fiction, and she is another historical fiction author that is highly underread these days, and that is very sad. Okay, prompt number 6, sky on the cover. And for this, I am choosing a birthday book from Amanda. That is The Medicine Woman of Galveston by Amanda Scheckendorf. And as you can tell, there's a very stormy sky. This takes place in Galveston. I've never read anything by her, but I'll read you the tagline. It's what made me fall in love with this book. A powerful, heart-wrenching novel that immerses readers in its Galveston, Texas setting, where a woman doctor who has taken refuge in a traveling medicine show battles to survive and to save others during the Great Hurricane of 1900, the nation's worst natural disaster to date. So, yeah, Tammy wants to read that. Author with the same first letter in their name as you. So for me, that would be T. And again, this was very difficult to find on my shelves. Didn't realize, I was trying not to pick Kindle reads whenever I could. I wanted to actually pick physical books off of my shelves for this challenge in particular. And I have a lot of S's, a lot of R's. There was even a U. T's, however, T's are very hard to find on my shelves. I found one, I believe. That is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read nothing by her. I've heard mixed reviews. I know this is a Hollywood story, which is not my favorite. But, I'm going to give it a try. If I don't like it, I don't like it. If I love it, great. If it's, middle of the road, but still enjoyable, I'm okay with that too. So, I just noticed that. The Medicine Woman of Galveston has deckled edges. Probably can't tell. But yeah, those edges are deckled. Nice. Okay. Number 8 is a classic. I know for sure I'm reading this. If I don't read this late this year, I will read it next year. Little Women. Need I say more? It is, beloved for a reason. It will be a reread for me. I read this when I was 10 or 11. And this copy in particular has my attention because, as you know, it has all those little pockets full of stuff. So, yeah, I am looking forward to Little Women. I'm not going to lie. I am looking forward to Little Women. Okay, 9, nonfiction book. And I picked this one up last year. I referred to it every once in a while. I need to sit down and read some more in it based on something I read earlier this week. That would be Ancient Israel, From Abraham to the Roman Destruction of the Temple. And it is edited by Herschel Shanks. There are a bunch of authors on the cover. This is definitely historical nonfiction. It's definitely a history nerd, religious history nerd kind of book. There are some color inset photography in it as well. I have read a little bit of it. I like the fact that it has maps in it. It is got an index. It is well annotated in the back. And this is on my list too. I'm not going to plow through it in one sitting, but it is on my list of things I need to sit down and read in the coming year. And there are 8 chapters. So even if I read one chapter a month, and none of the chapters are overly long, There are 324 pages of actual text, so it's not overly long. I can do that. Maybe I'll put that on the list for things I'm mood reading next year. List and mood reading. Yeah, I just said that. Okay, next challenge is number 9, and that is 4 or more colors on the spine. So I chose Benjamin Franklin's Bastard by Sally Cabot. There is the spine. As you can see, there's far more than 4 colors. And again, I am interested. I'll read you the blurb for this one. An absorbing and compelling work of literary historical fiction set in colonial Philadelphia that brings to life little-known chapter of American Revolution. The story of Benjamin Franklin, his bastard son, and the woman who loved them. Franklin is a very interesting historical figure. We have this image of Franklin that we all grew up with, you know, the eccentric old man out flying a kite in a rainstorm, you know, his pot belly, his glasses, just kind of looks like a, you know, everybody's crazy grandpa. And yet, his real life was full of adventure, full of women, was a mess, was filled with just amazing adventures. Ben Franklin deserves to be the subject of more historical fiction, in my opinion. And it would just be fascinating. It would be fascinating. Okay, prompt 10 is for... Oh, I'm sorry, that was prompt 10. Prompt 11, a #1 New York Times Bestseller label on the cover. You know how sometimes there are those printed on stickers? I think that's what they were meaning. I didn't have any of those, but I do have a book that says it, sort of. It says the #1 New York Times bestselling author. Close enough. That is Stormfront, Full Moon by Jim Butcher. And this, I believe, is book 2 of the Dresden Files series. Book 1 is someplace else in another stack for another tag. I love Dresden. Dresden is my go-to comfort fantasy humor detective book. They're hysterical and they're engaging. And do I think everybody in my audience will love Dresden? No, but if you love Dresden, you know he is just amazing. Okay, next up, let's see if I can pull the next stack from over on the chair, is the smallest book on your shelf in size, not in pages. I pulled 2 for this one because they're... So these are the 2 I pulled. One is shorter but fat. One is slightly taller and very skinny. So the short and fat in comparison is The Adventures of Tom Bombadil by Tolkien. And the slightly taller but much skinnier is An Advent Book of Days, Meeting the Characters of Christmas by Gregory Kenneth Cameron. And this is an Advent devotional. And I am very much looking forward to this one. I am very, very much looking forward to this one. See if there's a chapter. Table of contents here. There is. Yep. This get a preview of my December reading. There you go. Although it may start at the end of November, depending on when Advent hits this year. So We shall see. Okay, let me put these away and grab the next pile. Is absolutely shocking. So let's do absolutely shocking first. That is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Why is this shocking, you might wonder? Because my non-reader husband put this in the cart. My non-reader husband actually said, hey, I want a book. Who am I to tell him no? I like that it's the same illustration for every chapter, but there's a chapter illustration. This is a fingerprint classic. The cover's pretty, the back is nice. What I don't like is that the Ibsen sticker is a permanently affixed one on the back. I can't peel it off. It ruins the flow, in my opinion. Don't like that. And otherwise, it's hardback, not leather. If you're looking at fingerprint classics. It is not the best glue-in hardback I've ever seen. It does, however, have a ribbon bookmark in it. It's not the worst I've ever seen by any means. It's not the greatest, but if Dave's interested in a book, I am not going to tell him no. Okay, so the reason I am not taking a picture for this prompt is, and I need two hands to pick it up at this angle, I have ordered myself the complete works of Shakespeare. And I would not be surprised if this version is in excess of £5. It's the first time I just took it out of the plastic. So it's my first time opening it. It does have pictures in it from the Globe Company. So in this version of the book, the credits begin on page 2469. The sonnets are in here. Everything else is in here. There are charts. I am very, very pleased with this. So I am supposed to read Cymbeline this month, which I have never read. I have a Folger Society copy, which I do not like. Cymbeline starts on 2216. So let's flip to that. Oh. And hopefully it is better than the copy I currently own. I'm not going to show you where it is because it's at the very back of the... So it gives you an introduction to the play. Gives you key facts of the plot line, the major parts, the linguistic medium, which is 85% verse and 15% prose. Gives you the date, sources, text, staging for it. And then we get to the text itself. And this is a much better version. It is just the play with some stage production notes on it, which I can handle. That's very different than I didn't grab the other one, which has Shakespeare's text on the right hand page, and on the left hand page it has the modern linguistic help and definitions and interpretation. So it's a much longer than it needs to be because, well, they doubled the length of the play that way. So yes, I will be reading it this way. If I need help, I can pick up the other one, but I don't anticipate that. I have never had a problem reading Shakespeare before in my life. I can't imagine I'm suddenly going to have a problem at this stage in my life. So, yeah. And this version of the play, which has much smaller text, is 75 pages. I can do 75 pages of text. That's easy. So, I am, again, very pleased that I now have a new copy of the complete works of Shakespeare in the house. I'm going to have to, order new bookcases to handle some of these because this is not going to fit in the current bookcases, but that's okay. Okay. Next prompt is a cover with a face on it. I have not read this one yet, but I really, really want to. I recently talked about it in my Catholic fiction video, which I will link down below. That is To Crown with Liberty by Karen Uello. As you notice, there is a face right there on the cover. And this is very high on my list. I say that and I'm thinking in my head I may save this for July of next year to read around Bastille Day, but I don't know that I can wait that long. Time will tell. Okay, next prompt is a spin-off book. This, I don't know what they were going for with the spin-off book. There are many ways to interpret this. And I'm going to interpret it this way. That is a definite spin-off on Jane Austen. That is Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. I've seen the movie. I thoroughly expected to not enjoy the movie. I thoroughly loved it. I loved it so much, I purchased the book. I own all 3 books in this series. There is also a Sense and Sensibility spin-off. There's another one too. I'm trying to remember what the other one is. Don't remember off the top of my head. This is illustrated. I say that and I just flipped past one of the illustrations. Here's one of the illustrations. This is, you can hear Jane Austen in this. Some of this text, I believe, is straight out of Jane Austen with Seth Graham Greene Smith, who is the co-author of this, adding the zombie parts and, changing the Bennett sisters to have the appropriate skills. So when I eventually reread Pride and Prejudice, this is probably going to be on the list of reading adjacent stuff at that time. We're finishing it. I've started it. So, okay, next up. Published 10 plus years ago. This was on the list of things I fully intended to read this year. That is Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead. It is the first in his Pendragon series. I will not get to this year. I will get to it next year. I'm making it a priority. I only own the first book in the series. For some reason, the second book in the series is very hard to come by. Certainly in this printing, I'm going to have to start searching other sources. eBay, half-price books, you name it. Because if I own it like this, I want the rest of them to be like this. But this was published in, I believe, 1987. Yep. First released in 87. And I love his writing. So I am looking forward to that. Okay. 17th challenge. A sequel releasing next year. Obviously, it's releasing next year, so I don't have a book to stand in here. I am going to say Molly Chase #3 by Rhonda Ortiz. No pressure, Rhonda. I know life has not been overly kind in the last year. However, I will drop everything to read Molly Chase as soon as it is released. That will surprise none of you who are regular viewers. You know my love for that series. Okay, prompt 18. Author with the same letter in their first and last name. You would think this was difficult. It was not difficult at all. I just grabbed one of her books off of my shelf. And this happens to be, I believe this is the second book in this series. No, maybe it's the first one. That is Lone Star Homecoming by Colleen Coble. No, this is, yeah, Lone Star Homecoming. Maybe it's the third book in the series. Because there's 2 other books on the back. Okay, so it appears it's the third book in a series, but Colleen Coble. Same first letter in both names, so I will get my hands on the rest of this series, but this is one of the first ones she's this was published in 2009, so she did not have at this point an extensive back catalog. She does now have an extensive back catalog, as you all know. Okay, prompt number 19, a book with an epilogue. That would be The Letter from Briarton Park by Sarah E. Ladd. This is the first book in the Houses of Yorkshire series. The third book just released. I don't own it yet. Otherwise, the series would be complete for me. And this does have an epilogue. This is historical fiction, historical mystery. I absolutely loved this book. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's a very short epilogue. It's like 3 pages long. But I don't care. I loved this book. This, if you are looking for faith adjacent, clean, sweet, historical fiction, give Sarah Ladd a try. Okay. Last prompt of the challenge is title has a made-up word in it. Woo, boy, was this one difficult. However, I only had one book, I think, on my shelves that fit this. That would be the Silmarillion by Tolkien. I don't know of another author book. I don't know of another usage outside of Tolkien of this word. So, I'm going with it. Couldn't find an etymology for the word either, so I am comfortable with that choice. Did I get this read like I intended to this year? I did not. Am I okay with that? I am. I will get it read now that I have the encyclopedia for Tolkien's world. That will make this a much more enjoyable experience for me. And, yeah, the artwork in this book, I don't know if you have picked up this version of it, is absolutely stunning. I would read it just for the artwork itself. Like, I love this picture. So, okay, that, my dear friends, is the Book Tower Challenge. And if you are in desperate need, like I was when I found this, of content, this is a good one to do. It forces you to go through your shelves and do some exploration and maybe come across a couple of books that, you know, got lost in the shuffle or, you know, are just generally hiding on your shelves, because we all have books like that. So, that's what I did. Pulled some stuff out that I haven't, you know, looked at in a while and I need to read, which is always good. I'm not going to tag anyone. Like I said, if you need content or you want to challenge yourself to come up with answers for those prompts, be my guest. I thought, won't take me 15 minutes, 20 minutes max to pull these books for this challenge. I was wrong. I think in total it took me half hour, 45 minutes to choose books just for this 20 question challenge. And so it took me like 35, 45 minutes to choose all the books, but I enjoyed picking up some books off of my shelves that I have not touched recently or I've forgotten I was going to read. This was a good reminder, so I am not at all sad by that. Okay. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.